All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Moritz. I am the Assistant Director of Sales and Exhibits for OTC. And if you're on today's webinar, you've probably gotten a couple of voicemails from me. I appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to listen to those and to register for today's new exhibitor web briefing. Our goal at OTC is to make OTC a smaller event for you. And by doing this, we want to give you some of the ins and outs of the show, as well as give you some tips and help to make this the most dynamic show possible for you. So, as a new exhibitor, you're very important to us. We want to make this show, your first show, the platform from which you're going to be exhibiting and participating with us for years to come. And so having new companies and products at OTC keeps the show interesting. It's one of the reasons attendees come to the show. They want to see new products, new technologies, and new suppliers. And quite frankly, you are part of the growing industry, the dynamic industry that oil and gas is. So we are very happy to have you with us. And through this new exhibitor onboarding program, we want to do everything we can to give you additional value, added value, and not just the exhibit space that you've signed up for. And so that's what this webinar, as well as a number of things you're going to hear today, are designed to do.
All right, Craig, this is Jefferson. Let's do a quick poll. I want to find out who's with us today. You'll see the poll on your screen right now. There are 4 different options. The first option is if you and your company are new to OTC, check that. If it's your first time, but maybe your company's been here before, meaning you're taking over the program, check that. Or vice versa. If the company that you're working with, it's their first time, but you personally have been at OTC, check that. If you're a seasoned or established or long-term exhibitor, check that. We'll give you just a moment to complete the poll, fastest fingers, and I'll share the results. I think this will help us tailor our content as we work through today's web briefing. I'll give you just a moment. We're at 70%. Those of you who haven't polled yet, look up on your screen, press the radio dial button that applies. Okay, I'm going to close the poll on 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're at 80%. Thank you so much. And Craig, here's the results of who we've got on. So it really looks like 3 out of 4 are brand new to OTC. 18% of them, it's the company's first time, but not theirs. So maybe they have moved from another company. Okay, so thanks for participating in the poll. We'll keep on rolling here. Craig, back to you.
All right. Well, that's really good to know, because unlike, I'm assuming that if it's your first time here, you've probably exhibited other trade shows. And where OTC wants to be different is, like I said, we want to provide more value than any other show that you'll attend, but maybe even more than what you're expecting when you signed up for OTC. We don't want to just rent you the booth, the empty floor space, and hope it works out for you and say good luck. Really what we want to do is we want to provide you tools to put in your toolbox to make OTC as profitable and as productive as possible. And so we're hoping to give you this roadmap of this new exhibitor onboarding program as a way to do that. And so one of the things that we're offering is on the OTC webpage, under the Exhibit tab and Plan Your Exhibit tab, there is a new exhibitor onboarding page. It's brand new. It's just been loaded up. It has got a plethora of information to help you out. It's got webinars. This webinar will be on there, but it's got additional webinars that have been recorded that will help you with all facets of your trade show planning, your execution, your marketing, and how to measure the success of the show. It's got how-to exhibiting articles that are fairly short. They're PDFs, so I would encourage you to share those with your colleagues. It's got some downloadable tools, and you're going to hear about some of those today. Jefferson has done a really good job of making it as easy as possible to calculate some cost control, an ROI calculator. I've been in trade shows for 25 years, and until not too long ago, I had not seen an ROI calculator that seemed to be worthwhile. And I think what you're going to see here is something that will wow you and really help your company out. We're going to be emailing you some strategic planning exercises. They are currently on the web page, but we're going to email those to you over the course of the next couple of months, so that it shows up in your inbox and you can take part in those. It's not going to take you long, but we would highly encourage you to do that. And finally, we have a Ask the Trade Show Experts email Q&A box. If you look on the right here, you can see the big blue box. If you've got any questions about trade shows in general, best practice questions, anything like that, or OTC in particular, click on that, and that will send an email to Jefferson and myself, and you'll have an answer fairly shortly. One of the advantages to this is Jefferson has been involved in trade shows for many years in many industries, and so you're going to get best practices from him if you've got a general question. So I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that box. And down below you can see the link to the new exhibitor onboarding page, and you can get there from the OTC web page. Click on the exhibit tab and plan your exhibit, and it's right down there, so you'll see that as well. That's available now. And then finally, we want to make OTC a smaller event for you. There are well over 2,000 exhibitors, and we don't have that many staff, obviously, so we want to make the show as small for you as possible, meaning we want to give you certain people you can go to, and you know that you can rely on those people and go to them. The better relationship you have with them, I think the more you will get out of it. So our exhibits team, you can see there, Barbara Katz is our rock star senior exhibits manager. She is the one that runs the whole exhibit program for us, and she is extremely good at what she does. I'm sure you've gotten a number of emails from her, maybe some phone calls from her. And working with her, Lori Duke and Katie Watson, who are great as well. You'll be hearing from them as well. I'm going to be talking about some of the webinars that are being uploaded. Lori Duke is in charge of those. So in addition to that, you've got the sales team, Jennifer, Jason, and Kirk. So I'm sure you've been talking to them. They can be a wealth of information for you too. So if you've got questions, these 6 folks, myself and Jefferson, are available to you, as well as our many vendors. So without further ado, I want to introduce Jefferson Davis. He's president of Competitive Edge. I've known Jefferson for probably the last 10 years, but I've known of him for probably 20 years, as I first met him as I was attending a conference, and he was leading one of the sessions, and I was enthralled with what he had to offer and his messaging. So I think you're going to get quite a bit out of his experience and his leadership and insight. He's exhibited at hundreds of trade shows. He's been involved in many more hundreds of trade shows, and he has, again, developed this whole program that you're going to hear about. I've talked a little bit about that. So he knows what he's talking about, and he knows this business, and he's passionate about it. And I know that that's going to come out here in the next few minutes. And finally, he's helped clients generate $750 million in trade show results. Now, I don't think that you're going to have that kind of result holistically, but we hope OTC can add to that amount for him with what he's going to share with you and this whole exhibiting onboarding program. So Jefferson is from North Carolina. His only fault is that he's an Oakland Raider fan, but don't hold that against him. And without further ado, take it away, Jefferson.
All right. Thank you, Craig. And again, yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Trade shows are really strange in that the average company, the latest research says the average company spends almost 41% of their annual marketing budget is allocated toward exhibit or event marketing. And for most companies, for a myriad of reasons, it ends up as an expense. So I come from the world of, starting my first show in 1985, being an exhibitor, and I never had the big money to throw at shows. And, I always felt a little handicapped. I always felt like, wow, we're over here in 10 by 20 booths and 10 by 10s, and we look around, we see these 50 by 50, 100 by 100s. And I always felt a little handicapped, in terms of not having the big bucks to throw at trade shows. But one of my mentors in the early 90s told me something that really resonated. He said, if you can't make money with a little bit of money, you won't make it with a lot of money. And wow, he was absolutely right, especially when it comes to trade shows. So what we're going to do through this new exhibitor onboarding, I work with exhibitors directly as a consultant trainer, and by this special program I've set up with Craig and the management team at OTC, basically going to give you the equivalent of a $10,000 exhibit consulting training program. If you use the resources we're going to put in front of you diligently and really go to work on this is pretty much kind of the same stuff that I do when a company hires me to come in and help them turn their trade show program around. So you're going to have access to all this for free. So let's jump in and kind of get after, some big ideas, okay? So if you're going to make sure that your exhibit program is productive and profitable, you've got to really shift from it's 4 days in Houston to it's a campaign. It's at least a 6-month campaign. This is one of the fundamental shifts where companies get into trouble is they think of trade shows as, again, the 4 days. And think about a chain, with 3 big links like you're seeing on the screen here. That pre-show, which is where we're at right now. We're sitting here in mid-February. We're looking out at OTC in May. There are some very specific, decisive actions that we as exhibitors have to be taking that honestly a lot of exhibitors don't take. So we want to put those in front of you. And then the at show, the time at the show, the work in the exhibit, the social events, the networking events, learning from the event, managing the whole at show experience, and then post show when the doors close. And just like a chain, right? If you avoid any one of these 3 time frames, the strength or the integrity of the chain is going to be compromised. So we have to be taking clear, decisive action in all 3 of these areas. And that's what we're going to walk you through with this program. Here's the big problem that I see over the years is when I engage and work with exhibitors directly, I find out that 95% of their pre-show time is spent on logistics and operations. Now, you have to do that stuff, right? But you've got to carve out some time and you've got to work on the strategic side. By logistics and operations, here's what I mean. Book the space, get the booth, get the graphics, get the products, get the people, book the air, the hotel, ship it, set it up, tear it down, send it home. And 95% of the time goes there. And the only thing that guarantees is that if you live in the logistics trap, the only thing it'll guarantee is that your booth, your products, and your people show up. And if you've been doing shows for a while, sometimes that doesn't even happen. So we've got to really kind of go over and think about critical exhibiting success factors. This is what the new exhibitor onboarding and my trade show turnaround program is built on, is 5 critical success factors. They are linear in nature, and each one builds upon the other. And before I go into the woods on these 5 factors, I'm going to make you a promise and give you a warning. The promise is this: if you do these 5 things well, you will win at OTC. Not only at OTC, you'll win at any show that you do. If you neglect or avoid or skip over any one or any combination of these 5 factors, you're going to struggle. You're going to limit the value and the results you get from the show. And as Craig said, we see our relationship with you not as, a one-time transactional. We see our relationship with you as an exhibitor as a lifetime partner. We see our role is helping you grow your business. And as Craig said, a lot of you do a lot of shows, and you've never probably seen anything like this in any other show you do, right? So this is a really, really unique program here. So let's kind of get a little bit into the woods on these 5 factors here, okay? And these are what I call the critical success factors. So defining your outcomes. Stephen Covey, in his great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. And he said there's 2 creations to everything in life. There's the mental creation, the blueprints, if you will. And then there's the physical creation. So defining your outcomes is going to be looking past the show, 6 months, 9 months, a year after the show, and defining what success looks like for you in the area of sales, in the area of marketing, in the area of customer relationship management. And then it's developing simple but workable action plans so you can execute and measure back, and simultaneously taking advantage of many, many opportunities that the OTC event presents for you. That's what we're going to work on here. It's first creation. It's seeing the end, and then creating the plan. The second factor, and I love Craig's analogy of making the show smaller for you. And that is right on point, because OTC is a massive event. You're talking like over 2,000 exhibiting companies, over 65,000 oil and gas professionals, but not all those people, right, are your target visitor. And you couldn't handle that many people, right? So to me, whether I can make a show work like OTC, it doesn't matter if it has 65,000 or 35,000 or honestly, even 5,000 attendees. It doesn't matter, because you or me physically cannot handle that many people. So the principle of selective attraction is going to have you define who your target visitors are in a broad brush stroke to create a value proposition that cuts through the noise and the clutter and grabs their attention, right? And then to deliver that value proposition pre and at the show with the end game of getting enough of the right people to your exhibit. It's not that hard to win when you have a very focused game plan, and that's what we're going to work on. So you do those first 2 things. Now, number 3 is about managing the visitor experience. So we're going to want to look at your booth. We're going to look at your product or service demonstration or presentation, and your booth staff. And we want to make sure that all 3 of those at-show elements are synchronized. So the experience in the booth is highly interactive with the visitor, it's high quality, and it secures a commitment to a clear next action. Circle that word commitment, because that is the leverage point that most exhibitors are not taking full advantage of. And throughout the series and everything we're doing, we're going to be walking you through how to get that commitment. So number 3, manage the visitor experience. Number 4, if you're not signing contracts on the show floor and you ever hope to get return on investment, you've got to really get crystal clear that the real product is leads. The thing that you're going to walk off the show floor with is leads. Okay? Here's how I like to say it. If ROI is the name of the game, lead management is the playbook. And so we've got to really think through, what information do you need to capture to really qualify an opportunity. And then we've got to look at developing a qualification process, meaning questions and flow, and a capture device or tool. And then we've got to make sure that our booth staff is trained so they know the lead goal, they know the question flow, they're comfortable using the capture device, and somebody's managing this. Key to return on investment. And number 5, measurement. What gets measured gets done. What gets measured gets improved. What gets measured can get you some very strong positive recognition within your company. So we're going to want to look at, walk you through a simple set of performance metrics. How well did you execute your exhibit, number 1, and financial performance metrics, number 2. Where and how did you get value beyond cost, right? Value beyond cost. And then ultimately that you're getting better and better from every show you do. You're grabbing the top 2 or 3 lessons. See, I never want anybody on this web briefing, I never want you to be in the position where your boss walks in and says, hey, Jefferson, we just spent $50,000 on OTC. What did we get? I never want you to be behind the 8 ball and not have solid, factual, real answers to that question. So this is a good time to do a quick self-assessment here. So if you had to score your company's process right now on these 5 factors, and a 5 was very effective and a 1 was ineffective, and you had to score how well you're currently executing around these 5 critical success factors, how would you score it? So it'd be a good time to go in your workbook here. A 5 is very effective. A 4 is effective, right? A 3 is somewhat effective. A 2, somewhat ineffective. And a 1 is ineffective. And if you'll write your score down in your workbook here, this will show you quickly where your limiting factor is, what's going to most prevent you from getting ROI from the show. I think you need to address all 5 of these, but I think there are, for most of you listening, there are 1 or 2 of these that are really your Achilles heel, if you will. And so make sure that you get crystal clear on where you currently stand on these, and use the OTC opportunity not just to support business goals, not just to get return on investment, but to grow your skill set, your capabilities, value that you can bring to the table. Okay, so grab your pen, grab a calculator. I'm going to take you inside the numbers right now. If you are not familiar with this formula, this is an absolute game changer, but I do want to caution as we work through this formula. We're going to walk you through what we call your potential sales opportunity. It's a mathematical, scientific-based approach to exhibiting. But here's the thing. This is not a guarantee of individual performance. There are many factors that are going to go into this. Okay? So let's do it here. Now, OTC, okay, has, let me close my thing, 30.5 exhibiting hours. That is your playing field, right? 30.5 hours. Now, here's a question that I want you to write your answer in, not mine. What size booth are you in, and how many people will be standing in your booth on average for those 30.5 hours to talk to attendees? I'm using 2 as my example. And by the way, if you're in a 10 by 10 booth, the staffing rule of thumb is 50 square feet per staffer. So that's the right staffing level for a single 10 by 10 inline booth. So I want you to write down your full-time booth staffing equivalent. That means if I walked into your booth on day 1 of the show at 10 a.m., you had this many people. If I walked in on day 2 at 3 p.m., you had this many people. If I walked in on day 3 at 11 a.m., you had this many people. Your full-time staffing equivalent. Write it down. Okay, now, listen carefully. Trade shows are about face and next. You know, the real magic power is putting your company identity, your products, your staff face-to-face with the right people. That being said, right, you have a limited or a finite amount of capacity. So what I want you to set is a target number of interactions, face-to-face, one-to-one, per hour per staffer. 3 is conservative, meaning over the course of an hour that each of your booth staffers talks to 3 people. 4 per hour might be moderate. 5 per hour might be aggressive. So I want you to pick a number between 3 and 5. If you want to play the game a little on the edge, then use 5. If you want to play it on the conservative end, use 3. And now you will have one of the most important numbers you ever understand about exhibiting. And by the way, I want to make sure you're actually doing this exercise with me. So if you will go to your question queue right now and just send me the number. I want to hear or see what number of interactions you as a group are coming up with. Send those to me via the question queue right now, and I'll continue to work through this formula. Okay. Now, some percentage of people that you talk to, not all of them, it's not 100%, but some percent are going to convert to an opportunity, a real legitimate business opportunity for your company. I'm going to ask you to start with 25% or 1 out of 4. And I didn't pull this number out of the sky. This is from the CEIR study on exhibitor ROI practices. The benchmark is 1 out of 4 visitors to the booth convert to an opportunity. So in my example, 46 qualified leads by closing time. Now, some percentage of those leads are going to convert to business for you. Okay, so the benchmark is 2 out of 10 or 20%. Yours may be higher, yours may be lower. Again, these are benchmarks and they're really good starting points because they're researched, right? We didn't just pull these out of the sky. So some percentage of your leads will convert to business over time, right? So in my example, it's 9. Now, I want you to take your average sale amount or your average order amount or the average value of a customer to you. In my example, it's $25,000. And when you multiply all of this together, you have what I call your PSO, your potential sales opportunity. So in this example, I'm on the hunt for $225,000 in traceable revenue within 6-9 months, however long your sales cycle is. Okay, now the frame is set, right? The opportunity. And by the way, if you don't like the end number, the 225, change the variables. The number of booth staff, the number of interactions, the percent that convert to a lead, the percent that convert to an order, or the average sale amount. If you change any one of those variables, the number changes. Okay, so this is, like if I quit this webinar right now and said I'm not going to share anything else with you and you only understood this, right, you will be in the top 5% of exhibitors in any show you go to. And you'll realize it is easy to win at OTC because, look, 65,000 industry professionals, for you to win the game, you don't care about 65. You got to identify, attract, and interact with 183 people. Life is getting so much easier now. Now the game becomes, who are the best 183? What am I going to do between now and when we arrive in Houston to be in their mind and on their agenda? We call that winning the game before kickoff. So you may have questions on this formula. If you do, go to your question queue right now, type your questions, okay? And some of you have already sent your exhibit interaction capacity, and those of you who haven't, if you have a moment, send me that too. All right, so let's keep rolling. Now, how are we going to do that, right? That's the opportunity is set. I'm on a hunt for $225,000 in revenue for my company, you know, using that example. Well, Craig mentioned these 5 exercises. We are going to be sending to you on the dates you see, and by the way, you'll get your first one tomorrow, the defining your outcomes. My suggestion is that you get your sales management, your marketing management, and your exhibit management together. I would block 60 to 90 minutes. I would put it on the calendar as a hard landscape and appointment. Do the exercises, okay? You'll see on the 22nd, you're going to get another one. On March 1st, another one. On March 15th, another one. On March 29th, another one. Again, I'm telling you, these are the exact same exercises when I work with exhibitors one-to-one as a consultant trainer that I guide, lead, and have them do. We've simplified them, and we've put a tool. If you do nothing else, download and do these, okay? Because they will position you for success. Now, we don't just give you the exercises, right? But tools, right? You have to have implementation tools. So there are 3 really powerful tools. One of them is the Exhibit Cost Control tool on the left here. This thing's awesome. You're going to be able to dump in all of your numbers and benchmark where your dollar's going. Are you over, under? You're going to pick up practices in there on how to save money in all the areas, and it will print out for you a personal pie chart showing you where your dollar went, comparing it to the latest study on where the trade show dollar goes. Second, the 16-week action plan. This spreadsheet blends logistical operational stuff with strategic stuff that we're talking about into one document. You know, if you're going to fly to OTC, one of the reasons that you're going to get there safely on an airplane is because the pilot has a checklist and a game plan. That's what this tool is. Okay, and ideally, now all of you going forward, if you know, try to get in the show at least 16 weeks before. That's the sweet spot. Now you can still do this, no question, but the farther out you have, the better. So make sure that you download the tools, and the webinars are all deeper dives on the 5 critical factors. So at any moment in time, you've got your team together and you're focused on selective attraction. Go to the driving qualified booth traffic. You're working on your visitor experience, managing. Go to make your booth stand out. You're working on your staffing part of it. You're working on leads. There's so much content on here. So make sure that you're aware of it. Make sure you're using it. The end game, all these tools are important. To me, the end game is what you're seeing on the screen right here. This is a spreadsheet that has the formulas built into it. All you got to do is go in, enter your numbers, and it will create your dashboard. You'll know what your capacity and utilization was. You'll know your attraction efficiency. You'll track your lead goal. You'll be tracking the percentage of interactions that convert to lead. Those are performance metrics, very simple, easy to apply performance metrics. Then you're going to calculate value and ROI metrics, cost per interaction, cost per lead, the potential revenue value of the leads, soft dollar return on investment, where you got value, and over time, hard dollar return on investment. So this tool will be your post-show measurement tool. But I want you to get familiar with it before the show so you can capture the data during the show that you're going to need to complete it. Okay, next, Craig mentioned this one. You got questions? You got a team of trade show experts for free waiting. Just click on the blue icon on the page, type your question. 24 to 48 hours is long. I have a 0 inbox philosophy at the end of each day. It will, in 99% of the times, be faster than that. So you have access to me and a team of certified trade show marketers who will answer any questions you have. And finally, this will be, we're going to come to the show and we're going to visit your booth in action, and we're going to do a in-depth 21-point evaluation. This program just won the Gold 100 Award for Best Program to help exhibitors maximize ROI. And we're going to basically score your exhibit on 21 factors. We're not critics, we're not judges, we're lights. We're going to look for what you're doing well so you can keep doing it, and we're going to look for what tweaks can you make to get even higher. And if we see things that we think you can change right now at the show, if you're open to it, we'll point them out to them. After the show, you're going to get a really slick 5-page report showing your score with a dashboard showing where you scored relative to the size of exhibit and the all-show average, and photographs, everything. Okay, so this program, this is about giving you that stand outside of your forest, look at your trees, expert feedback. We've done 22,000 exhibit evaluations, and I've had so many exhibitors tell me the evaluation and what they learned completely turned their exhibiting program around. And again, all this stuff, part of your exhibit package. No sales pitches, absolutely free because of OTC, right? They care about you. Craig went to bat for this program because he really wants you guys to succeed. And he's given you access to a completely integrated program here. So this would be a good moment. Questions may have flashed in your mind. We're running a few minutes behind schedule, so I'm going to look at the queue. But while I do that, I'm going to bring Craig back to just take you a little deeper dive on some things about OTC we think you really need to understand. Craig, back to you.
Thanks, Jefferson. So Jefferson mentioned a few minutes ago, we're expecting a 65,000 plus attendees this year to OTC. I thought I would give you a little bit of a background on who those historically have been. You can see on the left there the primary businesses that are there that attend. You can see the job classifications over on the right. One of the things that we offer is pre-show marketing. Exhibitor, who is our registration company, will rent the pre-registration list to exhibitors, and you can contact them and you can target a pre-show mailing list that they will send out to a third-party mail house, and they can slice and dice the pre-registration list based on parameters that they have and that are going to meet your specifications. So I'd like to encourage you to think about that, and if you don't already know who you want to invite, take advantage of that. Secondly, this year, for the first time, we're offering exhibitors in the arena and the parkway free multi-day attendee guest invitations that you can send out to your prospects, to your clients, people that you want to invite to the show. Now, the way it's historically been done is we charge exhibitors for the number of guest invitations that they send out that actually register. And we do it with one-day passes and multi-day passes. This year, based on the size of your booth, we're going to give you an allowance so that you will utilize those guest invitations and send out invitations to come to your booth. If you got a 10 by 10 booth, we're going to allow you 10 free registrations. If you've got a 10 by 20 booth, we're going to allow you 15. And then if you've got square footage larger than 200, we'll allow 7 per 100 square feet. So I'd like to encourage you to take advantage of that. There's going to be a webinar on our webinars page under the exhibit tab on the show website next week that will talk about that. You're going to be getting an email shortly talking about that, so I'd like to encourage you to take advantage of that. Then as we move on, what do our attendees want to see? Well, obviously, technology is the middle name of the show. So they want to find the latest technologies, the latest product solutions that are out there. And as a new exhibitor, they haven't seen your products and your technologies before, so they're looking for that. But it's important that you let them know that you're coming. Pre-show promotion, pre-show communication is going to help attendees plan their visit. Again, as Jefferson said, you need to stand out above those 2,200 exhibitors. So help them plan their exhibit and get on their radar with pre-show promotion. You want to make sure that the information and the interactions that they have on site are going to help them understand your product and your service, and you want to be interactive. Engineers like to touch and feel and see things, so the more that you can provide them to touch and feel and see, the better off you're going to be, the more effective your exhibit's going to be. So as we move forward, how do they behave? Well, they tend to plan ahead. Those that are really serious about this show, they're going to be attending the conferences, and they're going to be visiting the booths. So they want a roadmap. They want to know who they're going to see. So get out there and rise above the crowd by inviting them, by communicating with them. There are a litany of ways to to communicate ahead of time to get on their agenda. You know, they're going to, promotions help all the time, so I would highly encourage you to come up with some creative promotions. We've got a couple of webinars that Jefferson mentioned those earlier. We've got a couple of webinars that you can view today even to talk about driving qualified traffic and how to stand out from the crowd. So again, encourage you to go to that onboarding page and look at those videos, those webinars. So our Exhibitor Services Manual, this is the handbook to OTC. We have this has all the information that you're going to need to know about the show. There is a lot of information in there. In fact, we have a webinar that Lori has done that is on our webinars page under the exhibit tab in the Plan Your Exhibit. It's a 7-minute video webinar that shows you how to navigate the Exhibitor Services Manual. I want to encourage you to do that. It simplifies it, makes it easy, and it's got all the information that you're going to need to know. You want to make sure to pay attention to the deadlines. I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute on this next slide. If you can go there, Jefferson. So I've got 11 suggestions for first-time exhibitors at OTC, and I'll run through these real quickly. And if you'll take advantage of these along with everything else that Jefferson's talked about, you're going to have a great show. Again, plan and prepare and use the pre-show marketing that's available to you. Target the right audience. You can do that with, we've got free marketing opportunities, and there's some paid marketing opportunities you can take advantage of too. Using the free Traffic Boost email service to invite your clients is going to be important. Again, that webinar will be posted next week on our webinars page, so take advantage of that. It's key to know the OTC schedule because it is a little bit different. It's a Monday through Thursday show, and we've got a long move-in, but something that's unique to OTC is that all exhibits must be set up by Saturday, the 28th of April. The Sunday, the day before the show, is a dark day. There is no activity, no exhibitor activity going on Sunday, and that is to allow our vendors to roll the carpet, clean the aisles, vacuum the booths, and get the show ready for Monday. So as you're planning your move-in, understand and know our schedule. That will help you. Take advantage of the vendor discounts. In the Exhibitor Services Manual, there are a number of vendors that have early order discounts, and some of them up to 40 and 50%. You can save hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars if you plan ahead and take advantage of those vendor discounts. The first discount coming up is with Aramark on the food and beverage. So if you're planning on having any food or beverage in your booth, take advantage of that. That's coming up later this month. And then on those orders, don't just assume your orders have been received. Make sure that you have confirmation. You get confirmation back from those vendors that the orders have been received. And really important here is your booth. Make sure you track your booth shipment. If you're having it shipped in by a common carrier or by a specific carrier, make sure that you track that and you know that it's going to arrive on time. Many exhibitors don't plan. They get to the show on Saturday afternoon planning to set up and their booth isn't there, and they freak out because it's not there and they don't get immediate service and they have to wait. Well, that's because they haven't planned well. So we encourage you to plan. Again, as we've talked about, you and your team, anybody that's going to be at the show, we would encourage you to visit the onboarding webpage. And something really important is make sure that we as show management have your cell phones. That's really important for us. If we need to contact you on site for some reason and we don't have a cell phone and we're only going to your office and we're having to leave voicemails on your office phone, that delays communication. So make sure that that you do update your cell phone in the exhibitor portal. And when you get to the show, something that a lot of larger shows will use are floor managers. And so in every section of the OTC floor, you have a floor manager for a section of booths. And when you get to your booth, there's going to be a card in your booth that tells you who your floor manager is and how to get in contact with them. Highly recommend that you get to know them. They can make things happen for you on site. If you've got questions, contact your floor manager. Again, utilizing your exhibitor portal to manage your account is really important. And something that that some people, even veterans in the trade show business, forget to do. You're on this webinar, you're listening to all of this information, and you've got access to the rules and regs and the schedule and so forth. But if you're not going to be attending OTC this year, be sure and communicate all of this to your colleagues that are going to be on site. I can't tell you how many times we hear people that are on site at the booth that don't know what's going on, and they say, well, I was just told to show up and everything would be here, and it's not. So be sure and communicate that to them. And then finally, again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to make OTC a smaller event for you and make it as small as we can, even though it's a large show. Call us with any questions that you have. Call Barbara or Lori or Katie or myself or any of the sales team. We want to help you and make this the best experience and the most profitable experience that you've ever had.
Thanks, Craig. Great overview of who attends and how to kind of slice and dice the audience to get on their agenda, who to go to for what, and really good suggestions there. We're running just a few minutes over. My close will be very short here, but another good time. Anybody, questions about anything, OTC specific, trade show productivity, great time to go to your question queue, type it, and press send. And while you think about that, I'm going to close with some big thoughts.
Hey, before you do that, Jefferson, really quickly, because I was just reminded, on that pre-show, on that pre-registration list where we're talking about pre-show marketing, I want you to know that no emails are given out. So that's all going to be hard mailed addresses that are going out. So there are no emails given out. And if you're doing any booth activities, let us know. There's a booth activity form, notification form in the Exhibitor Service Manual. That's important so we know. And then finally, on the on your cell phone, I misspoke with the Exhibitor portal. If you want to update your cell phone, you're going to need to email that to one of our exhibit staff, and they'll have to load that manually. So I misspoke on that, and I wanted to clarify. Okay.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Craig. Hey, and by the way, everybody, some of you are freaking out. You're going, oh, no, we don't get email. Well, here's the thing. Email's the new junk mail. The average business person today is getting 147 emails a day. And I tell you where the clutter is really light. It's in the mailbox. Hardly anybody's using mail. This is a super smart time to drill down that list to your target, come up with a really good value prop, and get back in the mailbox, even if it's just oversized postcards. But direct mail is gaining steam again because the competition's not there. And one of my marketing mottos is be where the competition isn't. Your competitors are probably not in the mailbox. Really good time to get back in there. So let's wind down here. Sometimes the fastest way to succeed is just don't make the mistakes that others make. That Exhibitor Service Manual Craig mentioned, every hassle, every headache, every cost overrun that you're likely to experience probably could have been avoided if you'd spent a little more time with the Exhibitor Service Kit. So look at that thing, pull out the forms that really play to you, pad your dates. You know, like if an electrical form is due by this date, don't wait till that day. You know, put a 3 to 5 day advance tag on it. What happens if the internet's down? What happens if you're out of the office and you're sick or something? So read, pull the forms that apply to you, pad your target dates. Expectations. The reason why we took you through the potential sales op is sometimes exhibitors give up on shows because their expectations were not in touch with reality. When you ran your PSO and you found that you had the capacity for 183 interactions, now this is getting very real. Right? You might have walked in without knowing that and said, well, if we don't get 500 leads, this show was a failure. You don't even have the capacity to get 500 in that example. So having realistic expectations. Reasons are not enough. You've got to take reasons like lead generation, branding, market visibility, new product introduction. You've got to convert them to goals. And that's what the defining your outcomes process will help you do. Reasons are not enough. They're a good start, but they're not enough. Number 4, pre-marketing. This is a big show. We're trying to make it smaller for you, and the way you make it smaller is by you targeting who you want to see, coming up with a good value proposition, and reach out and touch them using the mailing list, using the guest passes. Don't throw a party and not invite guests. I know you wouldn't do that at home. Don't do it at a show. Number 5, your booth, and we're going to look at that. And by the way, if you want our experts to even give you feedback in advance, feel free through the Ask the Trade Show Experts. Drop us an email, send us a photo, send us a drawing. We'll be happy to look at your booth. Maybe we can catch something before you go to print or production. Give careful thought to how you're going to show, tell, demonstrate your products. Number 1 way attendees want to engage is through interactive presentations and demonstrations. So if you got it, bring it, and bring it to life. Get them to see it, to touch it, hear it, interact with it. Complete sensory immersion. Number 7, you can do all this stuff right, but if you have people standing in that booth who are looking and acting like they don't want to be there, it's going to come apart. You got to make sure your booth staff understands what to do. We've got a complete staff training webinar on the site that you could play in a pre-show meeting. I would recommend you make it required for every staffer that's going to work your booth to watch that webinar. Do not tear down your booth before the show closes for a million reasons. Number 1, you'll lose your priority points. Number 2, it's against the show regs. Number 3, it's disrespectful to exhibitors around. Number 4, in my experience and with my clients, have seen some of the most powerful buyers on the show floor late in the day and toward the back end of the show. If the show's open 9 to 5, the exhibit's open 8:55 to 5:05. Okay. Number 9, lead capture. We talked all about that. Get more than just what's embedded in the badge. Design your qualification process and execute good lead management. And number 10, if this is your first experience with OTC, I'm going to say something a little shocking to you. Even if you do all these 5 things that we're walking you through well, I don't think there's any practical, prudent, viable way that you're going to be able to judge the ultimate value that OTC can deliver. I'm going to recommend that you commit to 3 consecutive shows. Ask any exhibitor who's been in the show. Many of them will tell you year 3 was the watershed event. Okay, so don't judge the value too quickly, which is what a lot of exhibitors do, and then they end up stepping away from a market and a show that could have delivered massive value. All right, so finally, try to bring enough people to get out of the booth. Walk the hall. This show is an amazing show to walk. You'll learn a lot. You'll see a lot. You'll see exhibits that rock. If it's possible for you to attend the educational sessions that apply to what you do, even if you have to pay to do it, it's priceless. The learning. Note where the attendees are going to be, the social, the networking events. Don't just go have dinner with your tribe. Be where the attendees are. Use that measurement tool, because that thing is going to give you the data to help you to learn what worked, what didn't, where you got value. And finally, right, be patient. It takes time. If you commit to learning, if you use what you learn, and you stay committed to the magic power of trade shows, there will come a day, I promise you, when you'll look back and go, wow, what a difference a trade show like OTC can make for my business. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I do it all the time. We pulled almost $800 million in results from shows, and this stuff works. You just got to work it. So get ready. The opportunity is set. The stage is set. The resources, the support, the access are here for you. But remember this. It's not what you heard here that's going to matter. It's going to be what you do. Knowledge is potential power. Knowledge intelligently applied is real power. So take action, use what you learn. With that, I'm going to take a look in the question queue, and while I do, Craig, any closing thoughts or comments from OTC?
No, once again, we, on behalf of the board of directors and all show management, we want to thank you for putting the investment into OTC that you have. We are excited where the industry is going, and we think that if you'll follow these steps and some of the tools and resources we're giving to you and providing to you, I think that you're going to have a great show. And I think if you're exhibiting in other trade shows, this could turn your entire trade show program around. So, but quite frankly, my first priority for you is OTC. So use the resources that you have. Ask people, ask my staff, ask Jefferson, and anything we can do to help you, we want to do. So with that, I want to thank you and look forward to some of these questions.
Okay, Craig, we got a few that look show specific. Who would we contact regarding a targeted attendee list?
You're going to contact Exhibitor. Exhibitor is our registration company, and you're going to be able to find the form for that in the Exhibitor Service Manual, and that's going to be under the Exhibit tab, and plan your exhibit, and it's in there. So yeah, Exhibitor is the company that you want to contact.
Okay. During the show, are there any programs? Does OTC do anything to facilitate like business-to-business meetings?
We don't have that service, like a hosted buyer program type thing, anything like that. There are a number of different opportunities for you to network with people. As Jefferson just mentioned, the up in the conference sessions is a great time. Some of the luncheon facilities are great times. This year, because we're celebrating the 50th OTC this year, and on Monday evening after the show closes, there's a concert out on the Parkway, and that's going to be a great time to meet people and talk to them in a relaxed environment. There's information on our International Buyers Program information on our webpage as well. So that may be something that if you're interested in international buyers and so forth, you can take advantage of that. So that might be one that would be of interest to you as well.
Okay, we got another question on, do you provide scanners for capturing leads?
We do. Actually, that again is through Exhibitor. They have several different options for lead retrieval, and so that's available in the Exhibitor Services Manual as well under lead retrieval. So yeah, absolutely, we'd encourage you to take advantage of that.
Okay, can you give a little more detail about the free traffic boost email program?
Okay, so sure. The traffic boost program is a program where you can personally invite as many people as you want to OTC. We provide a template that you can utilize to invite them, where they can come in and register. So you can send an unlimited number of those invitations out, and we only charge for the companies or the individuals that actually register for the conference. And so historically, we've charged, you could send out one-day passes, or you could send out multi-day passes. The one-day passes are $15 a piece. The multi-day passes are $50 a piece. So what we're doing with this new free program is we are allowing 10 by 10s to have 10 multi-day passes that register before we charge for any additional. If you've got a 10 by 20, you're allowed 15 complimentary registration passes, and then for square footage over 200 square feet, for every 100 square feet, you get 7. So 7 passes. So a 10 by 30 or 300 square feet would get 21 multi-day passes. And then what we would do, if, for instance, if you're a 10 by 30 and you had 22 people register, we would charge you for the any that are over 21. So in that case, we charge you $50. But you can send out single day passes as well if you'd like, and we'll give you the multi-day passes at no charge, and then charge for any single day if you wanted to do it that way. And if you want more information about that, my team would be happy to talk to you about it.
Okay, it looks like we got one last question, Craig. It looks like this is related to lead retrieval. So the question is, will a regular QR reader app work on a smartphone, or is there a show application that we need to use on our smartphones to capture lead retrieval?
Great question. There is, and I believe I'm telling you the right thing here, but there's certainly show-specific applications that you can get through Experian for lead retrieval that will give a lot more information. But if you're using something that's off the shelf or a regular barcode reader, it's not going to provide you all the information. It may provide you the name, company, and city and state, something like that. It's going to be abbreviated information. If you want the full lead retrieval information, you're going to need to get that through the SWAP program that Experian offers, which is their app, or they've got some hardwired options as well.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. You can use your own phone, but you would be well advised to download the SWAP app and work with Experian on that, because I don't think just any random QR code reader is going to capture much. And also, a key point on lead retrieval, we talked about designing a qualification process and integrating it into your lead capture device. Only 7% of exhibitors do that. It's a really smart thing to do, to customize your qualifiers, and Experian can help you with that. Okay, that is all I'm seeing for questions. We've run quite a bit over, but very engaging webinar. I want to thank everybody again for being a new exhibitor. Welcome to the OTC family. We're in this for the long haul with you. Use what you learned here today. Reach out to your account execs. We're here to make this thing work. So let's do this. OTC is coming up. Everything, the table's set. So thanks for logging in. Craig, any closing comments from OTC?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you again for everybody being here today. And this webinar will be recorded on our webinar site, or on our exhibitor onboarding site. So if you've got colleagues that you think would benefit from hearing it, please refer them to the site, and we look forward to meeting you and being a part of this journey with you.
All right, thanks. This concludes our new exhibitor web briefing.